Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to First and Ted. I'm Ted of Ted Talks Ball, but of course, Aaron of 49ers First Takes is the first. Should have said him first. I don't know what I'm thinking, but
that's okay.
Aaron, thanks for being with me here today to chop things up. How's your week? How's your day? How you doing?
Well, I mean, like we talked about this on one of the streams I did yesterday of like this game really kind of put me into a funk. So I'm glad to talk about it a little bit more and then put it behind us for next Monday night because that was I don't get aggravated very much anymore. But boy, like I said before to anybody who would listen, that game for some reason I think it was because it was winnable and there was like so many opportunities missed. And yeah, so I'm pretty good though. The weather's kind of crappy though. You know, it's that time of year now, so it's gray outside and it gets dark really early. So yeah, not the greatest time of year, but at least we still got Niners winning football, at least for now, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we're still 5-1. The Eagles lost thanks to the Jets. Robert Saleh did us a solid and pumped them to keep them from being undefeated. So that's great. Got sort of a three-way tie with the Lions because we're all 5-1, but we and the Eagles actually have a slight tiebreaker against the Lions in that our losses were ours and the Eagles were against AFC teams, whereas the Lions lost to the Seahawks. So that's at least one tiebreaker in our favor if we should end up with a tied record of the Lions at the end of the season. But yeah, it was a depressing game. It was rain. It was frustrating to watch all the missed throws, the missed blocks, the penalties, just sloppy game. I kept waiting for us to turn on our jets, and we sort of kind of did on that final drive. And then obviously Moody missed his second field goal of the season, a big one. But, I'm not too mad at Moody, I would say, because he's been perfect till this point this season. Like we said earlier, like I think we were both careful to say, like they didn't look great, and so that kind of led us to believe that it might not last. I mean, he was never going to go 100% for a season anyway. But it made us a little more uncomfortable than if they were all like straight down the middle, beautiful kicks. But anyway. Great to be here, and let's take a look at the chat. Seems to be absolutely blowing up. So let's take a look. We got Red Jet Shell in the house. She says, "Let's go Niners."
She's everywhere. I love it. Thank you much.
We got Brian Culp in the house saying Moody will bounce back. There you go.
He's also everywhere.
He beat me to it. That was right as we were going live. So that was way before we talked about it. Hola, great. Aaron and Ted. Looking forward to the show from Laura Cat. Thanks, Laura Cat. Appreciate it. Red Jet saying that game had me Teflon tight.
Yeah, I was puckered pretty hard in that game. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, no. When it was 13-10, I turned my dad. My parents were driving home from where they had been for the weekend and stopped by, and they got there for the second half. And I turned to my dad. I was like, "We're not going to win this game." When it was 13-10, I just had a feeling, just the way we've been playing, all the miscues, the negative yardage. I was just like, we don't deserve it, and I think the players kind of echoed that at the end. Of course, then I got my hopes up, when we had that nice drive at the end. Brian says, just saying hi. Oh, we should also just mention we're, streaming to both channels. So if you're in my channel, make sure you get over to Aaron to 49ers First Takes, give him a like and subscribe. Same thing. If you're on Aaron's channel, give me a like and subscribe. If you're on a browser, please open up 2 tabs.
Yeah.
You can watch both at the same time. In that way, we get the more view hours. It really helps us out. Subscribers are great, but the
YouTube algorithms don't like you very much unless you have a lot of likes and stuff. So even if you just drop a like, even if you don't stay, just drop it. Yeah. Drop it like it's hot. Yeah. I'm so lame.
Aaron's dropping bars already. I love it. But on to the next. There you go. We will get on to the next pretty quickly here. We won't linger too long. Jason, Niners Smash Massey, saying Talofa Faithful. Welcome, Jason.
What's up,
Niners
man?
Radio. Make sure you check out his channel. Just saying hi. So I will try to show all the chats because it's totally popping, I may not be able to read them all. But everybody make sure to check out Bryant. He has a great channel. Also, his wife Tony does the Women of the Niners Roundtable Saturday nights at 5. Bryant does coffee shows in the mornings.
Yes, he does.
And great shows all week, including one with Aaron on Monday, Niners Coast to Coast, I believe, with Ty Alston.
We had a good show on Monday. We had fun.
David McNiner.
Me and Ty were not not getting along, and we were definitely getting along. We were not agreeing. I was giving the Browns defense way too much credit. I was like, man, their defense is so good. And Brazy, like, he goes, are they though? I'm like, I mean, they look pretty good when we played them, but you know, we even talked about it before the stream that like if you break stuff down a little bit, it's like, they were good, but other than that, Niners definitely fed into how good they were. Now being behind the sticks in that game a lot with penalties, and just mistakes, lots of penalties, 12 accepted. So the Browns are really good on defense, like exceptional. But I think if the Niners like Cosell, whatever his first name is, I can't think of it.
Greg
Cosell talked about it. He's like, Niners in the first half went up and down the field. We could have been up 14 to 17 points if the fumble, the fumble goes through and we get it. And just the way that the game started. So like, yeah, I'm definitely in a better mood now. I think the Vikings are a good team to get well against, but I don't want to disrespect them too much. But we'll see, man.
Yeah, I think we've got some things going for us, and I'll wait to dive too much into that until we kind of close the book on the Browns stuff a little bit here. But yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, as far as the game goes, there was a lot of stuff to go over. I mean, there was obviously a big drop by Ayuk. There was some overthrows by Brock. I think at least one to CMC and at least two to Ayuk. There were procedural penalties. There were missed blocks. Some of that is, Trent Williams playing on one leg. There's obviously the injuries. So Debo left the game early. CMC gutted it out for a while, but I think he was injured pretty early on. Did you think it maybe happened? I mean, there were two things that I thought. I mean, the face mask, but that's going to be more of a neck than an oblique. But I thought maybe the oblique happened on that sort of dirty late shove out of bounds by their cornerback, Greg Newsome.
Where he flew into the bench?
Yeah.
I think that's where it happened too.
Yeah, that's what
I think he braced himself, and when he braced himself, I think he's tightened up. I've hurt my I've stretched a rib cage muscle and gotten to the point where I couldn't breathe or talk. And it's like you can't stretch. If you notice, like he was trying to almost stretch it out. It's a pain. It's very, very painful. And then you got to think about him, like he's getting hit all the time, and very, he's been used a ton. So yeah, I think it was definitely on that. Who knows though? But it just seems like it because he had to like pull up. You know what I mean? So he didn't smash his whole self into the bench. Again, they didn't call it, which is amazing. But well, that's another whole thing. The Niners do not get the benefit of the doubts on late hits out of bounds, like how Greenlaw gets always flagged. We never get them. So,
yeah, it's crazy. We got 187 in the house. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight. Jimmy.
Yeah, and you don't stop because it's 187 on an undercover.
Got Bashar in the house saying, "Yo, people." Red Jet saying, "Bash." So yeah, I mean. A lot went wrong. I mean, the rain was a problem. I mean, clearly Brock Purdy was having issues with grip with a wet football, which kind of worries me going into the final stretch because, we avoided home games in September to keep the fans from frying, which means now out of our final 11 games, we have 9 of the 11 could be rain and or wind type of issues because we got the Bengals next week on October 29th at home. I'll be there at that game, just confirmed.
You're going to the Bengals game?
Yeah. We got the Jaguars in Jackson.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to see Joe Burrow, I mean, obviously I want to see Purdy, but I've seen him play already. Yeah, we got the Jags in Jacksonville. Rains a lot in Florida. We got the Bucks at Levi's. We got the Seahawks in Seattle. Ryan from No Border Sports yesterday was saying basically he'd be shocked if it doesn't rain at some point in that game, not if it does, because Seattle on Thanksgiving time is pretty rainy. We got the Eagles in Philly. Maybe it might be cold enough. It could be snow if there's precipitation, but likely to be some sort of precipitation in Philly. And then Seahawks back at Levi's. That's December 10th. The Cardinals are at Cardinals, so that'll be dry. But then Ravens at Levi's, Commanders in Maryland, December 31st, and then finally the Rams week 18 to close it out at Levi's. So a lot of chances for rain. I hope, Brock gets a glove or figures out maybe. Another thing I was thinking is, remember when the NFC Championship happened and he tore his UCL and he lost strength in his hand and he could only basically shot put the ball, right? He couldn't grip the ball at all. And I'm wondering if maybe his grip strength isn't 100% back.
He also, you remember Troy Aikman has massive hands, okay?
Yes,
but
he does.
He had major grip issues. Yeah, pause. He had major grip issues with footballs in wet weather, even with humongous hands.
Really?
Because it's based on the grip. Yeah. If you remember games back in the day, they would talk about Troy Aikman had issues throwing a wet ball. And if you look at his hands, they're like mitts,
Yeah. Troy Aikman has huge hands, no doubt.
If you watch him on a broadcast, him and Mr. Butt Fumble too, like they have these just absolutely, like, I've never seen hands like that before in my life. But pause.
Sanchez, Dirty Sanchez.
Sanchez. Sanchez. Yep. I think it has more to do. I mean, the size of your hands, I guess, because he's got 9 1/4-inch hands, which aren't the smallest. And Patrick Mahomes has small hands.
9 1/4.
Okay, so and
Jimmy G is like 9 1/2, so he's a little bit bigger.
He can throw in wet weather. It has more to do with how you grip the ball.
There you go.
If you have a tight grip, the ball tends to squeeze out. If you have more of a cupping grip, where it kind of sits in this little area, and you kind of almost push it, then you don't have that issue.
I noticed that cupping grip.
Yeah, cup and grip, man. That's all it's all about. But I'm not worried yet until I have a reason to be, but it is definitely something to watch for sure. I'm not. It's amazing. It's amazing the media. I was talking to my brother after the game when Goofy Nuts missed a kick, and I was really mad. I'm like, really, dude? Really? Like, he missed the kick. I was so mad. I said, here comes the media. Here it comes. Oh, I don't know. He doesn't. It's amazing. One game, and all of a sudden, it's like, who is the commentator that said Purdy is like, it's Nick Wright, Mouse Boy.
Oh God.
Okay, terrible. So I compare.
I saw
Nick
you
Wright.
Tweeted him, yeah.
Nick Wright to me, okay, guys, is a guy who was a nerd in high school, right? Who got wedgies all the time. Who you dumped his books, like you just walk past him and like whack his books out of his hands.
Yep. And
he became famous on TV, and now he has this ego where he likes to make things as absolutes. They're absolutes with him. He knows more than us because he's a Chiefs fan. I can't listen to the guy. I thought Orlowski was bad. He's like nails on a chalkboard, but
yeah, I used to call him Nick Wrong all the time because he was a LeBron fan, and he hated the Warriors and said really stupid things about Steph and the Warriors that weren't true. And then there was a minute right before the season started where I'm like, oh my God, he finally turned around. Nick Wright is actually right for a minute. And then now he's just pissed it all away. He's terrible again. So I don't know what happened there. If you got some different writers there for a minute or something, but it seemed like he was figuring things out. And then
he's a douche canoe, man. He's horrible.
He's terrible. No doubt about it. So we got VT 2022 in the house. We got Frank Tom Motions that he smashed
my guy
like on both channels. Thank you, FTO, Frank Tom Motion. We appreciate it.
Way down at the bottom, this Bash says, "Don't speak in absolutes." You know who speaks? Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
There you go. We always like to keep it in shades of gray here.
Yeah,
more towards the middle. Stay away from the extremes like Mr. Grant Cohn and Mr. David Lombardi. The truth tends to lie more in the middle. We got Silly Fun Guy in the house. We got For Life Niner, who gives me a lot of grief on the timeline, but you're always welcome here in our shows. got Fernando's throwback in the house, super supportive of all of our channels.
Probably the most supportive guy ever.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. 187 says Purdy did his job. Thanks, Moody. Purdy got us down the field at the end of the game to get us into field goal range. I will say that.
Good throws.
But, he, like I said earlier in the show, he definitely missed at least a couple there. He overthrew Ayuk, and a big one where he overthrew CMC. And even the one that Ayuk dropped could have been a better throw. So I'm not going to totally let him off the hook. I'm going to say that it should never come down to that at the end. But Purdy did enough for us to win the game, and that's all you can ask against a really great defense like the Browns. I do think they're a great defense, but I did get into some beef with Browns fans yesterday before my last show with Ryan. I tweeted something out, and it got a lot of traction with them. They were very unhappy with me for saying, because there's an NFL stats page that had tweeted something out about, they've allowed 1,000 points, 1,002 yards. Sorry, not 1,000 points. That would be a lot. They've allowed 1,002 yards through the first 5 games of the season, which is the fewest by a team over a first 5 games of the season since the Baltimore Colts in 1971. So this is like historic stuff, like 50 plus years. Nobody has done this. And I said, they're a very good team defense, maybe the best right now. There's a lot of arguments for them to be the best right now. But
Ty Elston was with me on Monday on the show on the Niners Coast to Coast. Every time I gave him credit, he was like, eh.
Yeah, but I said, well, and this is before I watched Johnny Dell's breakdown, which if anybody hasn't watched that, I highly recommend. Johnny has me blocked on the timeline, but I'll still promote his channel. He's putting out good work, good film review. And he totally corroborated this. We left a lot of points on the table. It could have been a real blowout pretty early on in that game if a few things had gone our way. So definitely check that out. But yeah, I was just in my mind, I was just thinking like there were a lot of people open and we missed some throws and we had a lot of penalties and there's a lot of things that held us back that wasn't necessarily great defensive play. And so I went through and I looked and I was like, oh my God. They played out of these 5 games they've played, of this historic stat, they played 3 putrid offenses. The Bengals are ranked 32nd in total yards, right? Created or gained. The Steelers are 30th, so just 2 spots better. And the Titans are just 4 spots better than that, 26. So 3 putrid offenses. They played the Ravens, who are 11th. That's good. But the Ravens beat them. And, they played us, and we were heavily injured. And it's not just that we were heavily injured, because they go, well, we were heavily injured too, Ted, the Browns say. We were missing Joel Bitonio for the game, and they had already missed Conklin, their right tackle. And Posick, their center, was banged up. And obviously they're missing Nick Chubb. But there's a big difference between missing those guys, for weeks, like Conklin was at the beginning of the season, and they had a bye week right before they played us. So they had all this time to prep for us, versus going out in game where all these people that we want to back these guys up have no practice reps. They don't know what the hell they're doing out there. So you see this penalty on Ray for the wrong motion. And you see, and even like, I wonder, this is and I'll put it out there in the chat and to you, Aaron, but like, do you think that if somehow, like, let's say Trent Williams had been injured all week and his sprained ankle was the same severity Sunday as it was Sunday, but it had happened.
We would have, I know.
But if Jalen Moore had been taking reps all week, don't you think that Trent Williams would have been like more comfortable with Jalen Moore coming in and doing the right thing? Like that maybe that was part of the reason he got it out, is because he's just like, Jalen doesn't know what the hell to do on these complex plays.
Yeah, they've had guys injured, and they've had them giving them chances to practice on a regular basis. A lot of our injuries happen right in the beginning of the game, and if you listen to Kyle Shanahan talk about what happened when Debo got hurt, and then McCaffrey as well, he said it was completely affected what they were going to try to do. If you listen to guys like Brian Peacock and got like Lockdown 49ers and other people, like that game was going to be a Debo McCaffrey heavy game, based on the weather, based on what the Browns do against the passer. And they lost both guys that were important to the game plan. There's a there's somebody that commented on Greg Cosell's piece on KNBR. I'll read it from the chat. He says, Greg Cosell.
And I agree. We thought this was going to be a Debo game. And this is a thing I told the Browns fans. They're like, well, Debo's your wide receiver too. And I'm like, the hell he is. He is a much more important piece of our offense, especially in a tough game than Ayuk racks up these receiving yards against lesser opponents. But when push comes to shove in a tough game, you want the ball in Debo's hands. I'm sorry, but that's just the facts. You need tough yards. You're going to Debo. And against a great defense. And so, anyway, I that was bugging me, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, and then you got with Greg Cosell, he said that the penalties, injuries, and some missed opportunities were the main reason, with Purdy still driving us on the last drive. Yeah. Like the fumble that wasn't a fumble, that was a fumble. And it was a scoop and score, and it should have been 14-0 49ers in the beginning. Yeah. I feel like if this game we go up 2 scores and a field goal, I think we win the game. Not going away.
Didn't even talk about that in his film review. He was just talking about offensive plays that we had where something slightly went wrong, where it could have been touchdowns, and he was saying it could have been 21-0 in that game really easily. That's not even counting that bad call. So. Right. It's pretty crazy. Real quick, want to call out Sean the Rapper is in the house. And who else was here that I just saw? There was someone else. I'm blowing it here. Let's be higher up. Somebody. Is Small Town Reviews or something like that?
Yeah. He's a good guy. He does a lot of like
Small Town Reviews. Yeah.
Does like beer reviews and some hashish, different strains of the green.
There you go.
He's cool. He's a cool dude. He's very chill.
Right on. Ayuk had some drops. I thought Ayuk only really had the one big drop. I mean, there were some that were off his fingertips, but I don't consider those drops. I thought those were more of overthrows by Purdy, personally. I mean, and PFF had Ayuk with one drop. So
I just think if you listen to Fred Warner,
that's for sure.
If you listen to Fred Warner, the Niners are not used to losing. They're not. And the reason it stings so much for us is because it stings for them. I just thought that the game was just the perfect storm of bad things to happen with the 49ers. I thought it was going to be that kind of game going in. The first drive kind of threw me off because after the first drive, I was like, oh, maybe we're going to, still boat race these guys. And then all the bad stuff, the penalties. I think the penalties is the worst thing. We had 12 accepted. So
penalties were awful, over 100 yards and penalties. Sean the Rapper says, have to keep it in context. A lot of variables as to why we lost. The folks say Purdy is terrible now, haha, but he's been consistent for a good sample size. Yeah, I was very careful. I said basically after the game, I was like, if you're waiting for me to bash Purdy, you're going to keep waiting because there were a lot of things that went wrong. I mean, from the beginning. He still hasn't
played a full season yet.
Yeah. Well,
he's not allowed to have a bad game, and he's essentially a rookie quarterback. Really, everybody just completely changes sides of the pillow as soon as we have one game happen.
No doubt. I mean, there was a lot of stuff. I mean, I wrote in my article about a lot of stuff. I said, are the 49ers due for a letdown? And in my article, I said, I'm expecting a letdown. I didn't think it was going to be enough to lose the game. I predicted 24-13. However, I clearly didn't predict, Debo missed most of the game. CMC would be banged up pretty early in the game and miss the end. And that Trent Williams would play most of the game on one leg. Those things I did not predict. So that makes in my opinion, my prediction more accurate. I thought I was pretty right on for what I expected to happen. Early start, great defense.
I still think
a good offensive line, a mobile quarterback. There are a lot of things that give us troubles.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even know when I wrote my article that Dre Greenlaw would be out because he was questionable. I just assumed he would play. And obviously that's a huge loss, huge to our run defense. And when I was arguing with these Browns fans, they're just like, oh, you lose a wide receiver and a running back and like you can't win. I'm like, yeah, it's, these guys are all pros, man. This is like, they're not only the best, they're top 3 offensive players on our team. They're the top 3 offensive players in the league for running back, for left tackle, and I'll say wide back. Debo's not really a full receiver.
There's a reason why they're the best at their position.
Yeah.
And that is because of how much they affect our offense in a positive light. So, yeah, them being out is a big deal. That's the reason that they're so good, and why they're so they're talked about and they're revered in the way that they are. Yeah, it changes everything. Like Randy Daytona, he's way down at the bottom of the chant. He said they were the game plan. Those guys were essentially the game plan. So
they were the game plan, and then you bring in these other guys like Ray, and they don't know, and they don't know, they haven't been doing the reps. And
Ray pissed me off. Man, he ran right into freaking Trent Williams on that one play, and I was just like, "You son of a bitch!"
Well, that was Trent Williams' fault for being that far back. If you watch Johnny Dolls, he explains that was definitely on Trent. He should never been that far back, and he missed his block, and he that was a big. And Aaron Banks made a mistake on that play too, I believe. So, no doubt, it was brutal. We got Cinnamon Kiss in the house saying hi.
Hello,
Aaron and Ted. We got Anshul Shah of the Shaw Show.
What's up?
He redid his channel. I think it's called the Shaw Show Pod now. So make sure you guys go resubscribe there. Get him back up. He was
when I think of his name, I think of the Shawshank Redemption. Sorry, just kind of.
There you go. This is why Johnny Dell blocked. No, Johnny Dell blocked me because I was bashing on Jimmy G, and he was a Jimmy G stan. That's what happened. And now he's saying, "Oh, Jimmy G is not that good." I'm like, "Dude, you blocked me over this, and you're finally admitting it. Come on, man." But I've asked him, other people to ask him to unblock me, and he's so far hasn't. Maybe you guys can put in a good word for me, because I think I deserve it. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate that. All I care about is 2 missed field goals. Well, one was from 54, and one was from 41. The 41 obviously hurts, but that Cleveland Stadium is really well known for swirling winds. It's right on Lake Erie, and the mistake by the lake is what they call Cleveland a lot of times. And you get a lot of wind, and it's swirling. And someone was telling a story about I think it was on Terradome show. Where when we got Nedney, the Browns fans were like, "Hey, you got a real one with Joe Nedney, because he can make it in our stadium, and if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere," type of thing. To quote the New York song. But anyway, it's a pretty well known place. It's tough to make it, and people say, "Oh, you compensate for the wind." That's like, not when it's swirling. You can't. You don't know where it's going to be at the goalposts.
He's not Robbie Gould as far as being able to compensate for weather and all that stuff.
And Robbie used to study that stuff for years before he was Robbie Gould.
He was in a he was in a long time. I have a kind of a high expectation for kickers. I'm one of those people who is, you have one job. That's kind of how I've always thought of it. You have one job, right? You don't hit, you're not in meetings. You don't have to do all the hard training camp stuff like the rest of the players. You have one job.
Sunset. Sorry, I had to read it. Bash had a good one there. Sorry, go
ahead. Well, way down at the bottom, I forgot who said it to me, but they're like, "Aaron, you were screaming no when the field goal was missed." I was in shock. My brother came in. He's like, "Oh, you guys have a chance to win it," and so we're both kind of like sitting in my room watching, and then as it missed, I'm like, "Wow, really? Like, really? 2 in the game, and you missed the." It was heartbreaking because Brock played so bad, and yet he made 2 good throws to get him into field goal position, which just changed everything. What's up, Charles?
He was griefing you down below if you saw it, but he said, "Aaron, we know you love KC."
Oh, yeah. You know it, Charles. Charles knows that I hate the Chiefs.
Did you see they got Mecole Hardman back today?
No, they got Mecole Hardman back?
Yeah, they traded a late-round pick to the Jets to get him back. And I was like, I knew they were going to get somebody. I just didn't think it would be somebody they just let walk this last offseason. That surprised me a little bit.
They're going to win the Super Bowl now.
That's a big piece.
Yeah.
I mean, for not being that big, it's an important piece.
Yeah.
Go with Kelsey to give them someone they know, they trust.
What do you take on the fact that he gets iced so easily, that kid.
I mean, it definitely happened in preseason,
Yeah, and then you
here
watch him after the game. He's so nonchalant and just like completely
they even
unconfident in
they even
himself.
practiced it. They practiced it in camp too when I was there. Like, I'm like, this is not the same as a game. So it's like, this is just silly that you're trying to practice icing on a nearly empty practice field
With no
compared to a
pressure,
full stadium with
no
60,
rush.
70, 80,000 people screaming. A little bit different, but hey, at least they tried. No, I don't think it's a huge deal. The one thing, did you see the interview with him at his locker though? And the poor kid looked like he was about to start crying. I mean, that definitely. I mean, you can take it two ways. You can take it as he's broken, or I take it as like at least he really cares, and I think he'll be all right. I think, like I said, I think we're in a dome. That should help get his confidence back up a little bit this week. And Levi's has win, but it's not nearly as tough as the Browns. So we've got some people, VT saying refs gave the game. They said penalties on Gibson and Ward did us in. And I was arguing that with the Browns fans, like, well, that hold on teller was have been a touchdown to Njoku. And I was like, yeah, but, first half penalty versus second to last drive of the game to take the lead. Like, this is not apples to apples, folks. It's not. And so anyway, I mean, there were bad calls on both sides, but I don't know. There were some other good comments.
The run defense in that game was atrocious. The missing of Greenlaw, I mean, geez, I didn't think one guy could affect over 160 yards rushing. Shanahan called them out after the game, and if you talked when Fred Warner was asked about it, he's like, he should, or no, it was Eric Armstead. He's like, we should have been called out. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, part of it is the Browns have a really good offensive line, even missing a couple of their guys. They still have a lot of really good offensive line. They're one of the better offensive lines in the league when they're healthy. And then, you have a mobile quarterback. We saw what that did, like with Dobbs against Dallas, where a mobile quarterback ruined their defense. So, and Kareem Hunt saw some tread left in those tires. He's got those character issues, which is why we'd never touch him, but you can see why teams would. He's still a heck of a back. Obviously not Nick Chubb, who is one of the best, but and then they have that Kenneth Ford had a good game too. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm not going to blame Purdy. We should blame Kyle some. There were some bad play calls. There were a lot of bad procedural calls.
Yep.
Kittle had a false start. There was all kinds of, holds and, there was, I mean, basically everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And somehow still we had a chance to win at the end, which is a really good sign. Although I will say it is against PJ Walker. Like, you can't be doing that against really good quarterbacks,
right,
and expect to still be in the game at the end. But because PJ Walker definitely missed a lot of guys that were like wide ass open, and he just, threw it in the dirt or overthrew it or threw him behind them or whatever.
Yeah, the Niners are lucky that they didn't play a really good, talented offense, because they probably would have been blown out.
187 wants to blame Moody. Moody's part of it for sure, but
Moody definitely. You can't 2 kicks on the road, and
this is the comment. Take accountability across the board. Like the D was bad. I mean, the D wasn't bad, but the D, and part of it too. Part of it too is, that we didn't get the Browns down early. If we had gotten a big lead on them early, they wouldn't have been able to run the ball as much as they did. They would have been trying to, PJ Walker to beat us with his arm, and I think we would have been fine. So it was just a comedy of errors, and hopefully Purdy's going to be okay in wet weather, because we could have quite a bit more of it this season. But I have no doubts that he'll light it up in Minnesota. Their defense is not very good. Maybe that's a good segue, but let's go through some of these comments. Plus, there's a few new people I want to catch. Ryu Ken is here. He says, we got exposed. Luckily, the Browns won't face the Browns in the Super Bowl, so we got this. I wouldn't be afraid of the Browns in the Super Bowl personally. They just don't scare me. So, their defense is good, but I don't think – I mean, I don't know. I just don't feel like Deshaun Watson is that huge of a step up from PJ Walker, which is crazy to say. But I haven't seen him do anything great since he's gotten to the Browns.
Yeah, I just think it was just a combination of a lot of things happening that game. I don't think the Niners, if they played them 10 times, would lose more than once. You know what I mean? I think the Niners are the better team, the better coach team. They're the more talented team. I just think the Niners had one of those. I mean, they haven't lost a game in how many games and that Purdy started, and this is the first one, and they lose by 2 points. So they were not going to go undefeated. And if you ask Fred Warner, he said, "We're not looking for the undefeated trophy." He's like, "We're looking for the trophy you could kiss at the end of the year," which means
No
they
doubt.
want that Super Bowl trophy. So,
No doubt.
the 49ers of 84 were the best 49er team ever, right? They lost one regular season game. Well, they call them the best team ever just because of how good their offense and defense was.
I
still think
mean
the
89.
89 team to me is the best team.
Yeah, me too.
Because Montana was on his game that whole year.
84 had a great defense, and we beat the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. But 89 had a great offense too, because then we had Jerry and Brent Jones and John Taylor and Roger and
my boy Mike Sherrard.
Yeah, that was when
Mike Wilson. I think Mike Wilson was still on the 49ers at that time too. He was an under.
Could
he was
be. I've forgotten what his
number 85. Mike Wilson.
Yeah,
it was a big time. He was a pretty good receiver back in the day. We had Wesley Walls too. Remember that? We had two really good, because Wesley Walls ended up being a decent tight end for the Panthers later on in the 90s. So
I'd forgotten about him. No doubt about it. Bryant says, I think Gammon meant Robbie Gould. No, I'm pretty sure he meant Nedney, because Gould came from Chicago, and Nedney, I believe, came from the Browns. So I think Gammon did mean the Browns, Bryant. We got How About Them Niners in the house, because I feel for him. His whole family was there. That's brutal for Moody. I think.
Make the kicks.
Nedney played for the 49ers 2005, 2007, played for the Dolphins. Yeah, and Broncos, Carolina Panthers, and Tennessee.
Hey, Brian Culp is on it today.
So no Browns. Okay, maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but he said also Nedney was the first to break Jerry Rice's scoring record, which usually is held by kickers and not receivers, to have a single season scoring record, that is, not overall. Holy smokes. We got Cinnamon Kiss in the house. She's saying, why is it not coming up here? She says, great show, guys. 1999 super chat, and it's not playing. I don't know what the issue is. Maybe I can just find it.
Because I can't play it either.
Well, Cinnamon, thank you very much. I remember you sent one before that ended up with with Aaron. So this one should end up with me, but I don't know why.
I can't open it either.
That is the weirdest thing. It's not showing. But thank you, Cinnamon Kiss. Much appreciated. Yeah, I finally got my first level of monetization earlier this week to allow super chats, super stickers, and channel memberships. But I don't know why it's not showing.
Yeah, it's definitely on your side.
Yeah, it's weird. Thank you. Very generous. In fact, it's about as much as I've gotten in about 5 or 6 super chats. That's a whopper. It's just frustrating. Maybe it's starting to turn red. Maybe it's just going to take some time to. And I'll try replaying it later. So now I'm totally lost in the chat. There was some good stuff. David McNiner's in the house. This is LFG 49ers. Even if we sucked last game, we played like poop and still had a chance to win. Yeah, that's something to take away from it for sure. And again, that's why I had that feeling about the Browns defense that, yeah, they're good. They're great. Maybe great. It may be the best right now, but I just didn't see historic. And like some of these kids I'm arguing with, that are Browns fans, I'm like, dude, how old are you? Do you even remember the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens or, these historic defenses?
You can't, listen, I know exactly what you mean. I get into these arguments with one of my one nephew, and we always, the bull, it's always the LeBron Jordan debate, right? He never witnessed anything. And he, just because he doesn't know who players are, he'll say like, Jordan never went against the competition like they have to go against now with like this guy and that guy. And he's like, who's this? And he was like bringing up names. I'm like, who is that? And I start talking about them, blah, blah, blah. Unless you live through something, you can't really make comments about something being historic or all time unless you go and do some research. Like there's 49er fans that, have a platform who talk like they witnessed teams back in the 70s, and essentially they go and have to look everything up on YouTube or Google and don't have any clue who these people were. So yeah, I mean, like,
And there's nothing like watching it live. I'm sorry, when you watch something after you already know what happens, it is not the same, people. That's why I try to never to watch as many football games live as I can. And then if I'm watching a replay, I like try to stay off Twitter because there's almost always a spoiler that's going to ruin it for you. And then it's hard to watch. Once you already know the outcome, it changes your perception. I don't know how else to explain it. We got Rinjin in the house. Sorry, that didn't come through. Let's see. He says, such a 2000 Ravens, AKA Browns. Yeah, no doubt about it. They were the Browns, and then they moved to Baltimore, and then Cleveland was without a team for a little while. But that's the one nice thing for Cleveland is now they're not like the longest time since a team hasn't gone to the Super Bowl or whatever, because they had that 7-year gap where they didn't have a team. So it can't be held against them for not getting to the Super Bowl like it can for the Lions. Although the Lions are looking pretty good right now. It's Phil Dawson. Maybe that is it. Who was the Browns kicker who came over to
might have been
49ers. That makes
I
more
don't
sense.
think Nedney kicked for the Browns. He's right.
There you go.
Mr. Culp.
When are we doing a call-in show? I never have. I don't even know how to do a call-in show.
Well, it's essentially it's not I don't think it's a telephone. It's people come in on StreamYard. You give the link out. And then you just filter through people that I tend not to bring people on screen that I don't know.
Right.
Because, Jesse Naylor lost the channel because of it. Somebody flashed pornography for like 2 minutes. Not 2 minutes, like 10 seconds. I don't even know. 2 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever. And it killed his channel, and he had to start all over again. So I'm just afraid to do them. Plus, I don't know. It's a good idea. I would do it if I don't know. Like some people are just really good at it.
There it goes. Now it looks like it's live. There. Yeah, it's weird. Sin it was fully orange, and now it's like turning it was fully light orange, and now these two colors, and right now it's still not fully darker orange, but it's enough to get it out there.
That is weird.
So thanks again. It's just not instant. Could be a slow connection or something like that. Who knows? But thank you. Very generous.
He's going to go buy a new visor now.
You know me. I think this is the first time you've seen this one. This is
if you guys ever give me donations that are like, I don't know, $20 to $50, which I would never ask for, it's going to go for a hat. That's what it's going to be, another fitted.
Some new drip.
So, it's all about the hat drip. When you got a big old head like mine, you got to cover it up with nice hats.
Same thing.
This one shrunk on me.
Mine's so big that if I put on a hat, it would be like up to here, and it would look really funny. So that's why I don't.
You need to wear like a 49er sombrero.
Yeah, I did wear one a straw hat to camp to keep the sun off the back of my neck.
Laura Cat's down at the bottom saying she wants to borrow my. I have a really big head. If you don't, it's gonna look. Boom.
He's bragging, folks.
Hat. I'm talking about a hat here. You guys are ridiculous.
You're shameless. So
you're just a silly goose.
Let's see. Bash is saying Ted needs to brand his own visor. I was thinking about doing some TED Talks ball ones. I should probably talk to Bryant. I know he does swag, or I think the Ty does too. Talk to some of these folks who do stuff.
What's great about Ty and Bryant is they're both not super fat guys. So like anything that they make and they wear looks perfect on them, right?
Right.
Anything that I make or put on, everything looks like a tent, right? So like it's like I always talk about people like, it pays to be a smaller dude sometimes or a skinny guy because like everything fits you good. Like you can get the shirt in medium and make it look like you got big muscles or something. Like when you're big, once you go past like 4X, everything just looks like a tent. So
there you go. Well, so while we're talking about, Bash says he's going to do a call-in soon. When you do a call-in, how do you do it? You basically put out a link, and people pop in. But how do you do it so that they don't actually come on stage to where you hear their voice, but it's not like they're just no camera and audio, right? I mean, where the audio with no camera.
What I would think is you'd have to make it so nobody's cams. You meant to have somebody. Yeah, I think you could make it so the cams are turned off. I don't know if there's a setting for that, and then you would essentially just bring them on, and it would be nothing but a thumbnail or something.
There you go. Randy said Dan Marino never had a running back. He also never had a defense either. So
he was semi-responsible for that, though.
There you go.
Because he had autonomy over that offense.
We got Alien.
And he had major issues when they brought in Jimmy Johnson, who was trying to make him have a running game and a defense. Like they didn't get along. So Marino is partly to blame for his lack of success. He was the type of guy who liked to throw 50 times a game and wanted the game in his hands. Some quarterbacks can't bow out and get in the background and allow other players to help. So that's on. I mean, that was just. I mean, if you watch, I think there was a thing about him about the when Jimmy Johnson came onto the team. There was definitely some friction. So
there you go. Bash says you dropped the link. Interesting. Okay, I just didn't know how to
drop it. Drop the link like you drop a deuce.
Alien to You says Browns were barely 500. They were supposed to get blown out. Everything had to go their way. It went their way. That's very true. No doubt about it.
Yep. Even the sun shines on a dog's ass. So, I mean, it happens.
187 says Niner fans born after 98 are the worst. I don't know. I think anyone who didn't get to watch a Super Bowl win and is still a Niners fan, I think there's a little special. I think
ones that were born in
watch all five and go to all five parades. You know, it makes it a lot easier to hang in the lean times than if you don't have that to fall back on. I don't know. I feel like
ones that were born in 90 but said that they were born in the 80s just so they have credibility, and you find out that they're not born in 90, and so they're a phony baloney. Don't be that guy.
McNair says, I hope we make Kirk Cousins say I didn't like that on Monday night. That would be awesome.
They don't have Jefferson playing in that game, so come on, guys.
You know who else I saw is out? Marcus Davenport, who's a hell of a edge. He's a great.
We just need to steal what's his name off their defensive line.
Pass rusher, great run stuffer, really solid defender. Former Saint, now Viking. He's out. He's been ruled out for the game, so it's another big loss for them. Yeah, we'll get into that here in a sec. Real quick, let me do a quick commercial break and just mention that I have a new sponsor called TTG. It's the Travelstead Group. So I'm TTB, brought to you by TTG. They're retail and hospitality logistics. They do transportation and warehousing for brick and mortar. They do FFE, which is fixed furniture and equipment. They do OSE, which is operating supplies and equipment. They do new store openings. They do rollouts, relocations, decommissions. From the first mile to the final mile and everywhere in between, Travelstead has you covered. Let us know how we can help you by air, ocean, or land. And they do closed loop solutions for retail and hospitality. So Nick and Henry are the guys to talk to there. They're great folks. They have all U.S.-based support. These are complex operations. Typically, there are small things that go wrong, and it's nice to know that when something happens, you know you're talking to folks here in the U.S. who know what you do, and not some call center abroad where they may have no clue what your business is all about and how to help you. Their website is in the description for the show, and it's also in my YouTube About page, my Twitter bio. It's also on Insta and Facebook if you follow me there. So please check out the website. They have a cool video that shows what they do. Obviously, it's a business-to-business type play if you're in retail or hospitality and you need to get things done. These are the guys to help you with the logistics, making it happen. So let's see here. What else we got? We got.
I just got to let you know that I got a lot of reaction from that Nick Wright tweet.
Oh, nice. Good.
People are jumping on with me on the Nick Wright. They said that he gets pissed off if anybody gets more shines than the Chiefs, so he has to make sure to bash them.
Oh, it's the same thing with LeBron and the Warriors. So yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that at all. And you know, I mean, I agree a little bit with what he said about, like, you know, that we didn't have our Incredibles or whatever.
Damn, I got 60 comments on it. That's the most I've ever gotten on anything.
That's huge.
I'm turning into
They
Ted.
said the Avengers, the cast from the Avengers. And it is kind of true that, you know, we do have the best weapons group in the NFL.
He's just jealous because his team has none. But you want to, whatever, dude.
But like I said, it's like it's different when those people go out in game. You know, I think Purdy would have done a lot better if he had practiced with Ray and, you know, Mason and Elijah Mitchell all week rather than having them come in cold in the game. So makes a big difference. Nick wrong for sure.
15 retweets, 61. Nice. Oh, I've arrived on Twitter. Woo! Guys, you don't understand. No one responds to me on Twitter ever with anything I say. So I must have struck a nerve.
1989 doesn't count. I don't know what the heck you're talking about, Brian. Drop the link entire every Sunday. Oh, okay. All right. So it's just the regular link, but you just, I don't know. I just don't understand how you get them on the stage without there being like a blank box there. That because you just hear their voice on the shows I've seen. There's no like emoji or square for them.
Some people make a specific overlay for call-in shows that completely block where the camera will be. I think.
Interesting.
Right? No.
I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, like I said, the logistics of it still are befuddling me a little bit. But sucks to lose a game. You shouldn't. Losing players doesn't make it any better. Yeah, I mean, at least the good news is that everybody's day to day. All right, so here's something that has been talked about this week. Like assuming that CMC is not going to be 100% for Monday. Are you cool with resting him Monday? Are you cool with resting him a week later against the Bengals? Because some people are saying, see, that's the thing for me. I'm like, don't sleep on the Bengals, man.
Bengals are a good team. Joe Burrow, when we all talked in the offseason, and I probably talked with you, I probably talked with Brian Culp and all the other guys. I think when we were talking, we were saying who was our MVP, and a lot of us picked Joe Burrow to be the NFL MVP. And he, maybe that's not going to happen this year, but people are like, oh, maybe, some people made some comments about that maybe he's not that good overall early in the season when he had a couple bad games, and it's just like
people bashing Josh Allen after week 1 losing to the Jets. It's like, come on, folks, he's still elite.
There's so much of overreaction. Like, I don't like when people overreact and call the Niners this, that, and this great team and that, like we haven't won anything yet this year. So like, I don't like it for the Niners. I like when we're being ignored in the background and we can kind of sneak our way up on teams. I don't like when we start getting the red, the barn getting painted red for us. You know what I mean? So, I think Joe Burrow's a great player. Rest him Monday unless if he says he wants to play, then shoot him up with some Toradol and get him out there. But
can't use Toradol in the NFL anymore. It's been banned because of bleeding, because it thins your blood and causes internal bleeding.
So what do they use for painkillers now?
I think weed has gotten to be a lot more prevalent, but I mean, not necessarily as a painkiller.
No, but like what did the trainers use? They still shoot people up with something. Is it Novocaine?
I think it's, Novocaine or lidocaine, or maybe something similar to Toradol.
I would love to have some Toradol on my knee.
Yeah.
That'd be great. It'd be walking around with like a floating knee. No, but it numbs you, so I would be it'd be walking around with a stump pretty much.
CJ Gray in the house says Elway decided to do it 1 chips. Randy was talking about Jim Kelly had Thurman Thomas. That is correct. I guess there was a safety dance. Did we make a safety dance reference? Because 49er was talking about men without hats. That was their famous song.
I have no idea.
Dance if you want to, we can leave your friends behind. Your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, no friends of mine.
I have an alternate version of that song. I'm like
is it suitable for work?
No.
I had a feeling.
I have a lot of what do you call, like I'm like a Weird Al Yankovic. Sometimes I'll take songs.
Here we go. Ash says you need Google Voice or Skype to do that, Ted. See, because the thing is, if we're doing our show and then we don't want like some people popping in and the overlay getting messed up, or I guess we could just leave it on like one of my background overlays. But yeah, all right. You're gonna have to walk us through that, Bash. Give us a tutorial on how to.
Bash is the guy to ask.
Make that happen. played Larry Zonka, Dan Marino in the same time. You have a dynasty. Yeah, no doubt about it. 2 Dolphins greats, no doubt about it. Larry Zonka was a beast.
Dolphins are always have all those group of losers every time somebody loses the unbeaten and they have to celebrate.
That was this weekend when the Niners and Eagles lost. They got to pop champagne early this season.
Oh, jeez.
Usually it goes a little bit later than 5 games.
They were so when the Patriots almost went all the way and never lost a game that one year. Yeah. And they were like sweating until they got to the Super Bowl and lost to the Giants.
CJ says he has to have that hat. There you go. All right, I think I've caught back up, so I'm going to scroll to the bottom. Again, let's reinforce, if you're on my channel, pop over to Aaron's, give him a like and subscribe. Same thing if you're on Aaron's channel, hit me with a like and subscribe. If you're on a browser, open up a second tab and double those watch hours for us. We really appreciate it. So let's see here. Ted knows the lyrics. Yes, I know most of the lyrics from 80s songs.
Ted talks lyrics.
It's just some of those middle hip hop. I know early and late hip hop, some of the middle hip hop.
That 187. That's Snoop Dogg. Yeah, and you don't stop because it's 187 on an undercover.
That one I remember for sure. Local injection still happens. Okay, so they don't give Toradol orally, but yeah, because when you inject it locally in a joint, then it doesn't really get into the bloodstream the same way it does if you're taking pills of Toradol. I remember I had someone I know prescribed me Toradol when I had my wisdom teeth pulled, and it was great.
I've used some painkillers after surgeries, and they do absolutely nothing for me because it's such a low dosage, right? It's weird. Like, I asked for painkillers at the doctor because of my knee and my shoulder hurting so much, and she's like, "Yeah, we're not going to allow that to happen." Didn't expect to hear Snoop lyrics. Sorry. I know I'm really white. I'm really pale. People were like, "What is that? What's happening?" Sorry.
And then Bash bringing up Eric Clapton songs or something else. I don't know. 49ers Bash elite QBs for some reason. Well, I think we get jealous that we haven't had one in a long time. But all right, there's an interesting one. Aaron, is Justin Herbert elite?
No.
Because
he's not clutch. He's really, 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 really physically talented, but his teams don't win, and he's not clutch. So no, he's not. And I'm not saying Purdy is, so people can get off that. Oh, you think Purdy is? No, not yet. Maybe someday, and maybe he can be someday do Herbert, but nah. He reminds me of Phillip Rivers. Tons of talent, never won.
But he's so much more gifted than Phillip Rivers. I mean,
right, but it's just they're
a bigger arm and
bigger guy. Yeah,
taller anyway. Phillip Rivers is pretty stout.
You know what he needs to do first before anything? He needs to get some Clearasil. Get rid of those. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a jerk.
What was the infomercial brand of? There was like the really famous one that made all the money. Somebody in the chat put it in there.
It looks a little stinky.
Cream that was sold through TV infomercials.
I forget.
Like the rage.
Oh, it was
Clearasil.
It was that skin. I forgot what it was called. Yeah, you had like the wash, the cream.
Yep.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking, because I used it because I had really bad cystic acne when I was young. So
when you copy the clip, it saves your clip, or you can add to live. Yeah, no, I know how to copy and paste a link into chat or into DMs or into the description. I get that. I'm just wondering. It sounds like it's a different link where they don't pop into the screen. You know, where you hear their voice, but they don't get a box on your screen.
I think some people make their own. They make their own overlays that only have their face showing for call-in shows. So what it'll do is it'll have like it's not even an overlay. I think it's is it it might be an overlay or a background. No, it's an overlay.
Oh yeah, so
it'll cover your side of the camera, their side of the camera, and only have yours showing.
But then when they leave, then it's gonna skew you into the middle, and you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Brian Culp says Ted travel guy. Yeah, I'm not a huge travel head, but my wife loves to travel, so I get to because she makes me do it. Friend says I retweeted it. Thank you.
Aaron is the Bieber of the Empire. Thanks. if only.
Randy T, I got your T, TT. I got your TG. Thank you.
I got the and then there's the TTC, the trash talk circuit, which is like the armpit of freaking 49ers content.
No doubt. All right, so I think we're caught up here again. So I'll scroll to the bottom.
The trash talk circuit. You've ever heard about them?
I haven't.
They're essentially a group of fans that are not really fans that sit there and they're like they'll dox people, you know, they'll get super personal and find out super personal news about you and blast it all over. It's like it's pretty much all about talking trash to the point where you get somebody to like quit YouTube, you know. And there's some really good ones at doing it, but to me it's the toilet of freaking content on YouTube. It's the trash talk, the trash fire collective. Yeah, there's some people that used to, if anybody who associates that and tries to bring that into the 49ers YouTube community needs to be punched in the face. I'm just saying.
There you go. I love it. Bryant asks, was Jeff Garcia elite?
No. Not enough.
Pretty good. He was pretty good, but
elite has got to be somebody who's played at least to me they have to play at least a 6 to 10 years, right?
Okay.
So I want a 6 to 10 year sample, and they've had to have won some games coming from behind, and at least had some reasonable success in the playoffs, where like they were the difference in a game, so to speak.
Brian's trolling.
Brady was that guy. Montana was that guy. They were, they played well when the lights were the brightest. If the Niners didn't have to face the Giants 2 years out of Montana's career, they would have had 6 Super Bowls during Montana's run, because they hurt him both times.
187 says Purdy's greater than Herbert. I mean, he was for 2.3 games there. The end of the Giants game, the Cards game, and the Cowboys game. Can you get it back? I think he will. And then, I mean, at some point, I might be comfortable saying that. I still think Herbert's better for now. I think if we had Herbert, we would dog walk the league. But it is a little bit. I mean, eventually you
until we have to play a big game, and then he'll tank.
I don't know though.
I mean, if you're going based on arm strength and size, yeah, Ted,
we have a better group of weapons. We have a better O line. We have a better coach and a better D. I mean, it's kind of a clean sweep.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going based on just his physical stature and his ability to throw the ball, yeah, of course. And of course, you're going to take that guy twice every day and twice on Sunday. But if we're going based on the ability to play in a pressure situation and not completely give in to the pressure, then I can't say he's elite. Not yet. You got to win at least a couple playoffs games, and you got to do something in the postseason. Like, you cannot not be in the postseason every year of your career and be considered elite.
Randy says Minnesota won't be easy.
I don't think they're going to be either. A lot of people are saying that they're going to be.
Kirk Cousins is a good QB, but it is a Monday night game. Like, has he ever won a Monday night game?
Who's that?
Cousins.
I don't know. Let's not make this Monday be his first.
No,
he doesn't have his best player, so come on, guys.
I guess it depends on, is Trent Williams 100%? Is Debo 100%? Does Christian McCaffrey even play? Those are some big ifs.
Dre Greenlaw playing, I think, will be important.
They have a good receiver. This rookie Jordan Addison is a solid receiver. They have TJ Hawkinson, who's a very, very good tight end. And they have Madison, who's a good back. They have Danielle Hunter, who's an outstanding defensive end. But
the Niners want really bad. I Who I want the Niners to want really bad.
The rest of that defense, I don't know about. They got Jonathan Bullard as their left defensive end, nose tackle Harrison Phillips, Dean Lowry, right defensive end, Danielle Hunter, we knew. Jordan Hicks, I think, is a pretty decent linebacker from the Cards, who's now a Viking. Ivan Pace Jr., I don't think he's that great. Wanham.
I thought I was able to pull up the chat, but I can't for some reason.
They have a good Byron Murphy Jr. As a good corner who came from the Cards. He replaced Pat Pete. Harrison Smith is a really good safety. Cam Bynum is a really good safety out of Cal. Took him a few years, but he's really gotten going. Right cornerback is Caleb Evans, but it looks like he's injured, so it might be Andrew Booth Jr. Don't know much about either of them. Nickelback Josh Metellus. I'm glad they're finally starting to show Nickelback on depth charts because it was always so frustrating when you're like, who's talk about rough lyrics. Terrible band.
You remind me of what I really am. Oh, sorry.
Don't do it. I got Rick Diaz in the house. Saying to watch. They're a good team, but I'm hoping to get in a rhythm Monday night and move the chains. Go.
Totally, Rick. Yeah, the Niners need to get back right on. They can't allow this to go 1, 2, 3 games. This is the important thing to me. Go into the bye with a winning streak. Don't go into the bye with a losing streak because I think that's like, it just wouldn't be good. I feel like the Niners. I'm not saying that they can't lose another game or they could not lose 2, back to back. I mean, it could happen, but I feel like the best team at the end of the day, if they play well without turnovers and injury, I think the best team usually comes out on top. And I think the Niners are markedly better than the Vikings. But you're right. They're in Minnesota. They're in Minnesota, in the Dome. But that works in the Niners' favor too, because that means that Purdy won't be throwing a wet ball. So
no rain. Randy Tuna says if we win on Monday, maybe we'll get Hunter. Yeah, maybe we could get a right tackle.
Somebody we made a good point last night. We were talking, me and who did I have a stream with last night? Jay in the Bay. So he said, what about a guy like Cardell Patterson? He won't cost a lot. He would be an interesting offensive weapon. And then you essentially still could go out there and make a move on the defensive side at the trade deadline too. So you can go out here and get somebody like Cordell Patterson to be like another one of those like Swiss Army knife players. And then, Danielle Hunter or something like that, or maybe another defensive back who's a little less known or something, and make a couple moves at the trade deadline. I think the Niners are going to be buyers at the deadline, especially if they win the next couple games.
There you go. Yeah, that's how I feel, Bash.
No, Bash, I agree with you 100%. I'm just saying, like, he hasn't won anything big yet. So, like, I'm not going to sit there and say he's going to win a Super Bowl for us because everybody still, is living in the world that Patrick Mahomes is living, built. You know what I mean? So,
Randy Daytona says Byron Murphy Jr. is a good CB defense against the run. Maybe we get him if we beat the. We definitely need help at corner. I think we still. Randy Gregory had a nice game.
He did all right.
Better than I expected.
He took over that starting spot during the game. I don't know if you paid attention. Drake Jackson was nowhere to be found towards the end of that game. It was Randy Gregory.
Yeah.
Drake Jackson has done 0 since week 1.
Yeah, he had those 3 sacks.
3 sacks, and
I said I don't think we'll see a lot more out of him like that.
I don't. We talked all off season. Me, you, Raj, all these people were like, I'm not comfortable with the Niners' edge opposite of Bosa. Everyone's like, you just gotta let the young guys develop, and they'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, okay. You still think about it now, but we're not. We haven't got a ton of sacks this year, and yeah, the pressure's all great and everything, but I like to see the quarterback get taken down once in a while. You know what I mean? So he doesn't break out. I feel like pressures is kind of a weird stat because it's like you can get pressured and still scramble away and throw a touchdown. So I don't know.
Yeah. You and I both were saying the end all summer, and I don't think anything's changed. Well, maybe Randy Gregory's changed that. I still think he's just more of like a value play. I still
Yes.
would love to see us take a
If
real.
we're not going to win the Super Bowl because Randy Gregory is going to be
get our Von Miller, or
yeah.
Troy
wonder if
Hill
D
was
Ford's still available.
What's up?
Wonder if D Ford's still available. Think he'll come back?
I think he's still on the payroll. I think we still are paying him this year, so wouldn't cost us anything.
Says he's taking me to karaoke stat. Okay.
That'd be fun.
There's that commercial where that guy's tying a shoe and that lady thinks he's proposing. He's like, no, my shoe. They're doing karaoke.
Well, for instance, totally lost touch with that guy.
They were talking about the TTT before. Yeah, they're really kind of non-existent now.
No doubt. All right. So yeah, I mean, so the Vikings have some good offensive players. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback if they can protect him, but that's a pretty big if. As far as O-line goes, let's take a look at that real quick. So we know Christian Darrisaw, left tackle, he's outstanding. Looks like their left guard, Ezra Cleveland, is red, so maybe he's injured. So that works in our favor. Garrett Bradbury, center, I think he's pretty decent. Right guard, Ed Ingram, I don't know a thing about him. And right tackle, Brian O'Neill, I think he's pretty decent. So, again, if they can give Cousins time, Jordan Addison is a pretty good receiver, and KJ Osborne's not bad. And then they have Brandon Powell, who I believe was a Ram. I think he was a kick returner for the Rams, if I'm not mistaken. So that's not really a strong play there. But let's be honest. Any fast slot is going to worry me against Isaiah Oliver. I don't care.
Is Womack returning?
Someday.
Is Luter and Womack returning one day in time?
I haven't heard a thing about him recently, so I don't know. I was looking for injury reports and practice reports today. I didn't see anything, but they're probably out now, I would imagine.
I just like the fact that nobody's got long-term injuries on the 49ers, and it's just a matter of, do you rest guys versus the Vikings and the Bengals? I say you can't really rest anybody versus either of those teams, but that's just me. If you're gonna rest somebody, I could say Minnesota, but I don't have that kind of confidence on the road. Like, there's just, there's a lot of injuries. Yeah. Dang, Aaron, you can sing, but you don't sing. Your boy, happy birthday. Oh, I don't know. It's just, I felt weird. Like if I'm put on the spot to sing people happy birthday. I don't know.
All right. I didn't mind. It was okay. I'm okay.
I'll send him a picture of me wearing nothing but a sock. And
boy.
It'll say happy birthday sailor or something like that.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. Sorry, guys.
So it's not like
Aaron to say sorry.
It's a Nickelback song again. Oh God, please no, don't let it come back up. So yeah, I mean, obviously we're favored by a fair amount against the Vikings with good reason. So we just, I guess it'll depend though. It'll depend on these injury reports. I think will really affect because I remember seeing the total 6.5 and thinking, I guess that's 9.5 minus 3 for home field advantage, but still I could see it. We were 9.5 favorites in Cleveland. I could see us getting up over 10 points if Debo and CMC and Trent Williams all look like they're going to play. I think if you are looking for a value bet, that might be one to check out early in the week before favorable news comes out and drives the point spread up.
Yeah, I think the Niners will beat the Minnesota Vikings, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people would have imagined before the loss to the Browns. I think the Browns exposed a couple things with the Niners that I think the Niners need to shore up. I think the interior of the offensive line is a little iffy. And the Niners' run defense without Greenlaw is definitely suspect. So those two things can be taken care of. I think the Niners will be, and then, Brock Purdy plays better. I think Brock Purdy played about as bad as he could play last week. So going upwards is not really that tough because you hit bottom. Pause. During that game, so
Got
couldn't help
Anthony
myself.
in the house. He says it took 2 missed kicks and refs to be the Niners team. Didn't have CMC and Debo, plus a hurt Trent Williams. Yep.
Here's the thing, though. My nephew always makes this point. If you are playing a game where the refs' calls are going to impact you, you shouldn't win. If you're beating a team by a good enough margin, referee calls aren't going to affect you like they would if it's that close. My nephew always says, play better and then not having to depend on the refs. Depending on the refs, you're gonna get screwed over because they're imperfect and they're all a bunch of part timers that don't play. They don't do this full time. A lot of them are really old and senile, and they don't know what the hell is going on. They don't know whether to crap or wind their watch. So, yeah, if I was the Niners, a game like last week was just it should be considered a blip on the radar, and they just need to come out and be the team that they've been all year. Score 30 plus points, cause a couple turnovers, and rest your starters in the fourth quarter when you're up by like 15 or something. You know what I mean? Like they need to go back to the way they were. I mean, I think a lot of us are overreacting after one loss. We really are. So, including myself.
I agree. It is funny though, like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, how it really affects your mood. I mean, I was riding high for 5 weeks, and definitely
I wasn't used to. It's hard to get used to losing when your team has won
the
so
wind
much.
out of my sails a little bit.
Yeah.
But these things happen, and we're still 5-1. We're still Super Bowl favorites to win the Super Bowl. We're still, and the data backs that up. We're very good on offense and defense. Our defense has allowed the least points. Our offense has scored the second and most points. That's a good combination for sure. Aaron, what do you got going on the rest of the day, the rest of the week? Anything that you want to promote today?
Not really. I think I might have a show with Raj tonight. I'm not positive. But the week is pretty wide open towards the end. I usually sometimes do something with me and Rob Shue have been doing a Friday show. So that might be something that still happens. It's I need to start getting more stuff later in the week. I noticed that on YouTube with the and analytics and not analytics, but the more you stream, the more people see you. You know what I mean? And I do a lot of streams, like I do split streams with you, and I think Raj too. So I'm essentially never really on my channel by myself, other than when I do the Monday show with the Niners Coast to Coast when we switch. So we'll see. I'll have to do more stuff on my channel, maybe get 2 more people or 1 more person to do a weekly show, and then things will be better. But no, I have really not much going on the rest of this week. So stay tuned. Watch the community tab. Let's see. I do have a Minnesota Vikings person that I could talk to if she's still doing Vikings content. I'm gonna have to talk to her. She does astrology and she does Vikings content, so
nice.
I'm gonna have to hit her
combo.
up.
I have a Viking show coming up here in about 9 minutes. I'm gonna be on with Skull World and I believe someone else, but it will be on my channel, so you can check it out on TED Talks Ball. And then what else? Tomorrow afternoon, I'm open if somebody wants to book something. I have a 4:15, so that one's at 4:30 today, and then tomorrow I have a 4:15 Pacific end. That would be a 7:15 Eastern end, but from about 2:00 Pacific to maybe at 5 Eastern to 4:15, anywhere in that range, which would be 7:15 Eastern. Might be down to book something, and then I've got Bash on Friday, balling with Bash and Ted, usual. So excited to chop it up with Bash, and thanks for being here today, Aaron. I appreciate it.
No doubt.
Thanks to everybody who showed up. The chat was popping. It was great. Couldn't really keep up, but that's half the fun. And thanks to Cinnamon Kiss for the giant super chat. Everybody, let's just say peace and go Niners.
Go.